Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 5 to What If Naruto had Wood Release. That's because you guys hit the like on the last video, so with that being said, the like on this video is just going to stay the same. So yeah, 100 likes and you guys will get another part, or part 6, if this isn't the final part, I'm not sure. Because I'm not going into Boruto, but I don't know, we'll see. Later on, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, make sure to check out my Discord. I'll leave a link to that in the description, as well as any other future parts. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. So with that being said, let's just do a brief recap of what actually happened in the last part. So, most of Shippuden happened in the last part, up until the 4th Great Ninja World War. The village never got destroyed. Sasuke and Sakura are still in the village, and basically almost all of the Akatsuki members are still alive. They're not going to really join the war efforts for Obito, because Obito is kind of like his own little thing at this point. And most of the Akatsuki didn't really want to do that specific thing. Like, they were following Pain, not... It's weird. It's kind of like a weird thing, like a weird dynamic that they had, kind of. So, yeah, they don't actually join the war for them. They're gonna come in later and do something. Don't worry about it. I'll talk about it later. It's gonna be a little bit of a redemption for Naruto, I guess. So, the war is gonna begin with Naruto basically kind of fighting for the sand, kind of like just doing whatever the hell he wants at this point. He's on the battlefield, but he's not really fighting for anybody at this point. He's not really taking down, like, the allied nations or anything like that, so most people aren't too worried about him, but the Leaf Village knows he's on the battlefield. It's kind of like when the Leaf Village figured out that Sasuke was on the battlefield and that he suddenly, like, switched sides for some reason. It was kind of like that. Everybody's a little bit suspicious of Naruto at this point. They're like, I don't really know why he just decided to come back all of a sudden, but I don't like this. They're kind of a little weirded out by this fact. So Naruto would continue fighting, basically, and eventually it would come down to Naruto going up against Obito, who would have basically a reanimated version of Madara on his side. That's about it. That's about all that would be, thing right now. Naruto would close his eyes for a moment. He'd enter Wood Sage mode, and not Hashirama, sorry. I was like, what am I talking about? And Madara would notice this, and he'd be like, oh, very similar to what somebody had back in the day. A little odd indeed. So basically, Naruto would enter this Wood Sage mode, and he would create one of his wood golems, and he would charge towards them. Madara would be like, oh, damn. He would make his perfect Susanoo, because again, that's kind of like, he had to have a Susanoo to go up against the wood golems, at least against Hashirama, and he would make his wood golem. He would start chopping it, and it would obviously cut straight through the wood with relatively no difficulty. However, when Naruto makes multiple of these, with making shadow clones, and they all make one or two of them, then it gets a little bit more difficult for Madara to be able to cut all of these, and eventually, his Susanoo would get grabbed, and it wouldn't really be able to move anymore. Naruto would run up, and he would use his wood. That's serious. Like, I don't, like, it sounds so weird to say that. Like, legit, it's just, like, the weirdest freaking thing in the world to be like, yeah, and Naruto would then use his wood to... It's like, no, I don't like that. But anyway, Naruto walks up to the Susanoo now, and he ends up using his wood to try to basically puncture a hole through... Sounds so bad. Like, why? But he's trying to pierce the hole through the Susanoo to get to where Madara is. But again, it's a perfect Susanoo, so it's going to be really hard for Naruto to be able to do that. He enters Sage mode, or not enters, but he's in Sage mode, so he has at least a little bit of a chance of doing so. So, Naruto, with his wood, is just trying to pierce through the why do I even try talking like this anymore? Like, I should just, like, be done and be like, yeah, Naruto manages to grab Madara out of his Susanoo, doing something similar to what Gaara did by pulling him from the bottom of it. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say, because I'm done with saying Naruto piercing Madara with his wood, because that's not very fun. So Madara gets flown out of his Susanoo because Naruto grabbed him from below, and he gets flung out of it. The Susanoo disassembles itself, or whatever the heck it does. It's not there anymore. And Obito would go and he'd try to get Madara before he could get sealed away by Naruto's wood. Because Naruto can do that because wood. Wood is OP. Wood can do everything. But while he's running over there, one of Naruto's shadow clones was already there. It put a bunch of wood around Madara before putting a bunch of ceiling tags on it. Madara was stunned at this point, and he didn't have the time to redo his Susanoo, so he actually does get sealed in this point. And Obito's like, fuck, now I have to do this by myself. I don't want to do this by myself. This is going to be kind of hard, because, he's fighting this Jinchuriki, who's not even using, who he thinks is using the Ninetales power right now. I mean, things like that. So, Naruto turns to face down Obito now, because, he's the only person left really to fight. All the allied nations were kind of like watching this from a distance, and they're like, the fuck did Naruto just manage to take down Madara's perfect Susanoo? All the Kage went up against him and almost got their asses, like, ripped in half. And, like, that's basically what happened. Like, think about that. Like, Tsunade got literally ripped in half. Like, bruh, that's not good for you. So, Orochimaru at this point would obviously not be on their side. He would have went and been like, yes, I'm gonna go and save the Kage or save Tsunade. So, yeah. So, they all come back and they're watching this and they're like, they ripped me in half. How the heck is Naruto doing that? He shouldn't be strong enough to be able to do that. Like, what the hell is this shit? Like, I knew he was gonna be strong, but damn. Like, that's basically what they're doing right now. So, Naruto runs up and he's about to try to take down Obito, but this is gonna be kind of hard for him. Like, maybe I'd just be like, yeah, the Hashirama shows that Naruto gave him the ability to use the flying Raijin Jutsu. Yeah, it's like, unless I did some shit like that, it's really hard to counter the frickin' Kamui without another version of the Kamui. Naruto doesn't really have another version of the Kamui. And I don't think, and like, say this, Naruto manages to catch him off guard. He catches him in a wood style, and he's running up to him now to try to, like, deal a finishing blow. Except he can just teleport himself into the Kamui dimension before Naruto gets there. So it's kind of like, it's kind of hard for him to do that shit. So Naruto's basically charging at Obito at this point. And Obito is obviously kind of like, he's trying to figure out an opening for Naruto. That's exactly what Naruto's doing as well. They're both just punching each other, but every time Obito would try to punch Naruto would be able to counter it. And Obito would not really be able to materialize himself, making it so that he couldn't really punch Naruto. So, Naruto would be like, okay, I have to figure this shit out now. Because he's trying to figure out how he's going to manage to actually, win this fight. Because at this point, he's not going to be able to. And neither is Obito. It's going to be whoever runs out of stamina first. So, their fight continues on. It's been hours. Maybe even, an entire day at this point. And both of them are nearly exhausted. With Naruto having a little bit more chakra than Obito. Because, he has more chakra than Obito. Their fight has been going for a really, really long time, and Obito needs to figure out what he's going to do. He needs to figure something out, because he knows that Naruto isn't going to run out of chakra before him. He knows that he's going to be the one to run out of chakra, and then he's just going to be, absolutely decimated when he can't materialize anymore, and Naruto can still use all of his wood-style stuff. He knows this is going to happen, and he's like, okay, well, I kind of need to summon or reanimate Madara again, because, that's kind of like the only thing he can do at this point. Like, yeah, he could summon, the Geto Mazo or some random shit like that, but he doesn't want to risk Naruto, sealing it away or anything like that, because then he wouldn't be able to summon the Ten Tails. He wants to have Madara here before he does that, just in case some weird bad shit happens with Naruto, and he's like, okay, fuck, I'm gonna have to use the Rene Rebirth. So, with him using the Rene Rebirth, Madara reawakens from his little, sealed place, and he's like, interesting, and he uses his Susanoo to get out of it, obviously, because he could do that. He basically has Hashirama Sage Mode now, because, he had the frickin' face that Hashirama had on his chest, and he's like, he uses it, and he senses where Obito and Naruto are, and he realizes that Obito is going to be on the back foot in mere moments. So he runs over there, basically wanting to help out his, tricked comrade, I guess you could say. So he runs over there, and Naruto's about to deal the finishing blow to Obito. Obito just ran out of Kamui, and he's about to give up. He knows that Madara got, reanimated, and he knows that the plan will take action no matter what happens. But as he's doing that, Madara jumps in the way of the thing, and he blocks it, and he's just like, you're my opponent now, kind of a thing. And Naruto's like, but I was just about to kill him. That's not fair. And because remember how Obito survived the Rene rebirth originally? It's kind of like that. He got even more weakened from using that jutsu in the first place. I mean, get wrecked, noob. Think about this. The fact that, like, Obito did survive the Rene rebirth might just mean that Hashirama cells were the thing that let him do it. Because, like, remember Nagato? He used it. Yeah, he died, like, instantly. Maybe that's what saved Obito. It was the frickin' Hashirama cells that he had. So maybe Naruto could use it. Just think about that. That's not okay. I don't like that fact. Like, Hashirama cells are just too overpowered, to be honest. But, you know, whatever. So, Naruto starts taking on Madara at this point. Trying to find a way to kill him at this point because he doesn't need to just seal him anymore because, you know, he can kill him. So, Naruto makes a bunch of wood clones. They all surround Madara. Madara at this point doesn't have his eyes, so he can't use the, like, abilities of all of his shits. He can really only use the actual Sage Mode at this point. So, Naruto's actually he's having a pretty decent advantage in this battle because Naruto is actually winning in terms of sheer physical strength, but he still has his signature thing, which is the wood style, whereas Madara doesn't have his Sharingan, Mangekyo Sharingan, or the Rinnegan at this point. So he's just trying to, like, dodge out of the way of all of Naruto's attacks, but every once in a while, one would hit him. Madara would obviously, like, you know, regenerate this, but he slowly begins losing the battle, losing more ground, and eventually Naruto's about to, like, pin him down to the ground and deal a finishing blow to him. However, Obito regained his chakra once again, and he gets in the way of this, blocking the attack. Now, with both of them facing off against Naruto, Naruto needs to figure out a way he's going to deal the finishing blow to either one of them. He needs to kill one of them, and then he can take on the other with a lot more ease than he would with, you know, taking on both of them at the same time. So, finding an opening, he grabs Madara. He chucks him way the fuck out of the way at this point. Obito doesn't have any stamina anymore, and Naruto simply kills him. It isn't that difficult for him to do so because, you know, Naruto has a lot more stamina at this point, and he's using, like, wood golems and all that kind of shit. So Naruto actually manages to do this, and he's now just trying to take on Madara, who at this point is absurdly weakened. Still doesn't have a Rinnegan, Sharingan, or anything like that because Naruto is literally the only person on the battlefield at this point, other than, like, Obito, who had a single Sharingan eye. So that wouldn't really work for him. He needs to figure out what he's going to do. And he doesn't have the Rinnegan, so he can't summon the Geto Mazo. And he's trying to figure out what he can do. But Naruto kills him as well. As Naruto kills Madara, Kurama would speak up inside Naruto's head. He's just like, you know what, kid, I kind of like you. Both those people really frickin' pissed me off. Both of them took control of me in the past, and, you know, you're not as bad as I thought you were. We should be friends. And yeah, at the end of the fight, that's when Kurama decides to step in, and Naruto's like, bitch. You'd realize how much easier that would have been if you had just, like, helped me. And Kurama's like, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal at all. And Naruto's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Whatever you say, Kurama, whatever you say. So as Naruto's leaving the battlefield, he gets stopped by a few people. This being some of the remnants of the Leaf Village. They're like, Naruto, we're sorry, but we're gonna have to take you back to the village for questioning. These are just some random fodder people who wouldn't really be able to do anything to Naruto. Naruto just looks at them and he's just like, you're fucking kidding, right? Like, you legit have to be kidding me, right? Like, I was gonna try to do this as, like, some kind of redemption to be able to go back to the Leaf and make them not hate me. Do you guys know what you just did? You guys just literally, like, they're freaking stupid. Like, bruh. Naruto just walks away. He doesn't want to deal with this shit anymore. And he's going to be like, okay, I'll go back to the Leaf Village on my own time when I could find a way to save everybody. Or some shit like that. Some really bad stuff is happening in the Leaf Village. And Naruto's like, okay, I'll go there then. So, Naruto waits. Pain would show up at the village because he wants to, you know, he wants to do his own plan. So he shows up at the village and he asks them about any information that they have for Naruto. They obviously are like, we don't know where he is, but they start killing all the villagers. Naruto, however, would be watching this, and he jumps in and he's just like, the person you're looking for is me, right? All of them look at him and they're like, yes it is actually. And they start facing off against Naruto because Naruto's like, you know, the only person they really have to challenge at this point. So, Naruto would basically start casually walking towards them. Doesn't even enter Sage Mode, doesn't do any of that kind of shit, and he just one-shots every single path of pain except for the Diva Path. The Diva Path would begin to try using, his good old almighty push, almighty pull shit. Naruto enters Sage Mode. That stuff doesn't work on him anymore. Kind of like how the Six Tails didn't work on Naruto. It doesn't work on Naruto. Naruto starts beating the ever-living crap out of the Diva Path until it falls to the ground dead. Since he was in Sage Mode, he would be able to sense where Nagato was. He goes over there, and he kills him. And Naruto is like, okay, whatever. Why is this so easy? He ends up taking the Rinnegan from him, and he brings it back to the village. Kind of as a show of gratitude. He gives the village one, and then he takes the other for himself, saying that Nagato only had one Rinnegan. Naruto obviously would implant the Rinnegan into himself, knowing that he might need this in the future. However, that's where I'm going to leave this part off, because as I said before, I'm not continuing into Boruto, so yeah. Bye.